Hi everyone, I'm Selena. I think the purpose of the text is to lead us to examine present segregated education in a multifaceted approach, like critical race theory, what we learned this week. The election of Barack Obama as the 44th president of America did not end the segregation in one day. Just as a segregated society does not build in one day. The text showed me how federal, state, and local legislations directly prevented African Americans to receive literacy, especially before Civil War. As it states on the eve of Civil War, it's estimated that 5 to 10% of enslaved African Americans in South had acquired some degree of education, some degree of literacy. So less educational opportunity also become one of the leading reasons for about 500,000 African Americans left the South between 1915 and 1920. Since most children go to neighborhood school, segregated schooling is a byproduct of segregated neighborhood. It brings me trying to understand the problem through residential segregation. The housing program in 1930s separated white American and Black American in different buildings in urban areas. Later, the white left for suburban communities where people of color had no right to live in suburban area because they have no right to live there, or they could not afford to live there because they could not get approved of loan. Later, the redlining policy strengthened the segregation between white neighborhood and non-white neighborhood. It's like banks and savings institutions refuse to lend money to minorities, especially African American. In most, they are forbidden to live in white communities. In most cases, to black families in black neighborhoods, which made the situation there even worse. The text offered me a new insight on how to evaluate today's education segregation from history. It started after many Europeans came to America and found a way to use their race to create a hierarchy. They used race to create a segregation to gain more opportunities for them and a way to lower the standards of other races, such as Mexican, Hispanic, African, and of course African American. Upon completion of this reading, I'm more knowledgeable about various perspectives on controversial issues relating to education based on the influences of governments, legislation, and policy. A racial biased government will only lead to a segregated society. Segregation in every aspect will not decrease without necessary law enactment and systemic change.